Thank you, Rector Murray, for that wonderful introduction. It is my honor and my pleasure to be here as part of the live sequel to last year's digital graduation. I'm delighted to congratulate you all and to welcome you back to grounds for the ceremony that you so richly, richly deserve. I was recently reminded that last year's graduation speaker was the virtual President Ryan, who's a hard act to follow even a year later. But for all of your sakes, I'm hoping that I can be the rare season 2 that outshines season number 1. or at least Godfather 2, which gave The Godfather a run for its money. When Jim invited me to give today's address, I thought back to my own graduation, and this is what I realized. I could not tell you whether it was a man or a woman who spoke that day. Not only that, but my sorority sisters managed to unearth a photo of that graduation, and let's just say this. It's a close call as to whether or not we were in deep, deep reflection or whether we were napping. Now, I'm not proud of that, but it does serve as a poignant reminder that I should be brief. The class of 2020, for as much as you've lost over the past year, is one that I will never forget. Your strength, your patience, your passion make you one of the most special classes ever to graduate from UVA. And I have the privilege of addressing a class that isn't 5 minutes past its last final exam. You've been out there in the world, you've been working, caring for others, volunteering in your home communities. Maybe some of you had a chance to rethink your goals and what you wanted to pursue and your priorities. Maybe others of you have to make ends meet and to keep yourselves and your families safe and healthy. Whatever you've been doing, you are already proud UVA alumni, and it is so good to have you back at your intellectual home. So given that context, I decided to scrap all of the usual graduation exhortations about sending you out into the world. And instead, I want to talk to you about 2 ideas that I study and teach: democracy and citizenship. But to do that, I want to start with a story about a wedding. I've been married to my husband, Marland, for 12 years. I remember our wedding like it was yesterday, very, very fondly. It was wonderful in every single way. It was a rare, humidity-free, cloudless DC day. The people we love and who love us were with us, and I can still hear all of those voices blending as we sang "Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee." I still remember my dad refusing to let go of my arm when we got to the altar. I still remember my mother and my mother-in-law laughing with the minister and that last dance with my amazing new husband to Let's Stay Together. It was perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing. But as the years have passed and as the photographs have been put away, what I find myself thinking about most are those times in between. The first day when I met Marland, and every day since, our late-night conversations, laughing so hard that we can't breathe and that we're crying, his unwavering support when my mother became ill and passed, how he has grown to know me better than anyone else in the world, and I him. Friends, I share this with you because you know, better than anyone, that milestone events like graduations and weddings are important. But it is those in-between times that make a life. Let's be clear, I am not saying that graduations mean so little that you should fall asleep right now. And I heard about some of the night that you all had last night, so I know that's very possible. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that for all of the planning and the pomp and the circumstance and the anticipation and the expectation, your graduation itself is mostly symbolic. My prediction is that what will stay with you for the rest of your lives is what happened in between the day that you arrived at beautiful grounds and this moment right now. Late night conversations with roommates, meals at the dining hall with new friends, a class discussion that changed your entire perspective. Coffee and bagels at Bodo's, trips to the library, music practices, cheering for the Who's, who can forget that national championship, or all of those national championships. What you did during the long, dark days of the pandemic, the moments you took to seek career advice, and of course, the Zoom meetings. Now, I've also been thinking a lot lately about elections. Presidential elections, of course, are the most salient. As US citizens, we are often told every 4 years that this is the most important election of our lifetimes. We get out the vote, we watch our network of choice late into the night, and for many of us, the conclusion of those elections is deeply personal. We're elated when our candidate wins, we're demoralized when our candidate loses. And the truth is that presidential elections are important, and voting is one of our most precious rights and responsibilities. But elections are necessary, not sufficient, to sustain democracy. Democracy, like life, is realized and strengthened in those in-between times. Like what happens between your first day of school and graduation, it turns out that the everyday actions of citizens can and do pave our country's path. It is what each of us chooses to do during those in-between times that strengthens our institutions and holds our elected officials accountable, that animates our democratic principles and aspirations, that builds and defines our democratic culture. And it requires each of us, whatever our skills, to contribute. No matter what you studied here at the University of Virginia, no matter your career path or your current job, you have a role to play as a citizen. I will say that again. You have a role to play as a citizen. The pandemic has brought this idea into clear focus. Before the pandemic, did anyone think readily that virologists, immunologists, and epidemiologists were critical to our democracy? But their life's work has informed the public policy response to one of the greatest disasters of our lifetime, and ultimately will bring the pandemic to an end, averting untold suffering and death. Healthcare workers, whether they're in large urban hospitals or small rural clinics, small practices, yes, healthcare workers, healthcare workers. No matter who they are, no matter who you are, their acts of care, large and small, contribute to the health and resiliency of communities across the country. At your virtual graduation ceremony last year, we heard a beautiful and moving performance by my friend cellist Yo-Yo Ma. What you might not know is that Yo-Yo, who regularly plays on international stages, thinks of himself as a citizen artist. He's working in communities using the arts to help students improve math and reading skills at the lowest performing schools in the country, and he's encouraging other artists to do the same. Or take Barbara Rose Johns. In the 1950s, she was a 16-year-old African-American student who led a walkout to protest the poor conditions at the segregated R.R. Moton High School in Prince Edward County, Virginia. Rather than build a new facility to accommodate the increased student body, the school board had built structures of plywood and tar paper that lacked heating and plumbing. Barbara rallied her classmates for a sustained boycott that gained the attention of civil rights lawyers Spotswood Robinson and Oliver Hill, and the rest was history. A student-led boycott for a better segregated school became the quest for school desegregation, and a lawsuit, which became one of 5, rolled into the landmark 1954 decision, Brown versus Board of Education. That was 16-year-old Barbara Johns. Fast forward to 2006. The residents of Milwaukee, Wisconsin decided to take on a problem that many cities have: poverty. And then by 2008, they realized that a significant driver of that problem was another, teen pregnancy. In fact, among big cities, Milwaukee's teen pregnancy problem was second only to Philadelphia. So leaders of the United Way, the city's health commissioner, public school leaders and teachers, the mayor, business leaders, the University of Wisconsin, the publisher of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, members of the faith community, and others set a huge goal. They said, as a community, we're going to reduce the teen pregnancy rate by 46% by the year 2015. Working together, they moved faster than they thought they would, and by 2013, the teen pregnancy rate dropped to 56%. So then they set another even larger goal, and today, teen birth rates have dropped by 65%. And as Nicole Angrazano of the United Way said, this community fought for these outcomes. Across zip codes, across demographics, across constituencies, we have come together for the sake of our young people. So you're wondering, what's the lesson for democracy? Class of 2020, where are those of you who are educators, journalists, and economists? Just wave your hands. Where are you? We need you. Democracy needs you. Those of you who are scientists, mathematicians, data scientists, there's work to be done. Where are you? Yeah, And those of you who are musicians and actors, artists, writers, filmmakers, your skills aren't just needed, they are required. Whether your degree was in commerce or the humanities or the sciences, your talent, your perspective, your commitment to democracy will determine our path forward. Collectively, we need all of you. We strengthen our nation and our communities when we work every day to improve lives and create an environment so others can also succeed. Every citizen can do this. Every citizen must do this, for it is literally our collective actions that determine our success or failure as a country. The story of America is complicated. It's like us. It's noble, and it is paradoxical. But ultimately, it is about the expansion of freedom and opportunity. We might hope for faster progress or quicker results, but the slope of that arc depends on us. So it is my greatest wish for you, class of 2020, that you ask yourselves, are you treating citizenship like a noun or a verb? And not just on election day, but every day. Coach a team, help a neighbor. That person with whom you disagree, engage them, listen to them again and again and again. Run for office. Organize a social media campaign. Use your professional path to make this country more just, more free, more equitable, more secure, and more vibrant. And by all means, vote. Your actions or your decision not to act come with their own consequences. I urge you not to delegate those responsibilities and tasks to others, but embrace the fulfillment that can come from taking part in democracy. And remember, it is in those in-between times that we can truly fulfill the promise of robust self-governance, a thriving democracy, and a meaningful life. Congratulations, class of 2020, and thank you for having me with you.